What's up, America? Do you enjoy hemp products? I know I do. If you do, then head over to lexwellnesskentucky.com, lexwellnessky.com. You can use the code Omega Green for 20% off. Tell them I sent you. So now, step with me into the green room. Today's topic is about hustle culture. Is it good for us? Do you think it's good for us? Do you not think it's good for us? If so, why? Now, what I'm going to do is give you the Google AI overview of what hustle culture is. Hustle culture is a mindset or work environment that emphasizes constant, intense effort and prioritization of work over all else, often at the expense of personal well-being and work-life balance. It's a belief that success comes from working excessively hard and long hours and pushing oneself beyond what is considered normal or reasonable. Here's a more detailed breakdown. Key characteristics of hustle culture are work-centric, where one prioritizes work and productivity above all else, including personal life, relationships, and self-care. Long hours, obviously working as much as you possibly can. Constant availability, being on call all the time, no matter what, you just drop it to go to work. And guilt for taking breaks, creating a sense of guilt or shame for taking off or prioritizing personal needs. Of course, there's the social media side where, it's kind of glorified and people are made to feel a certain way. A lot of people share their grueling work schedules and achievements, kind of reinforcing the idea that success requires constant hustle. And then competition and comparison, which is, again, rolls back into the social media aspect of it. The negative impacts are like mental and physical health, can lead you to burnout, stress, anxiety, and other issues. Your work-life imbalance and, neglecting personal relationships, leisure activities, and self-care. And that obviously leads to nothing good. Decreased productivity, because if you're burnt out and you start to kind of falter, then your productivity de facto decreases. And reduced creativity. The pressure to constantly hustle can stifle creativity and innovation. So in those terms, I personally don't think that it is necessarily a good thing, the hustle culture. I believe that having a hustle, working hard and kind of getting out there and giving your best effort, no matter what it is that you do, is a good thing. But at the same time, too, there are some people that say, like hustle culture is basically just you're glorifying being exploited, which, depending on the situation, can be looked at one way or the other. To where I'm like, yeah, if you basically are working so much, but like you ain't got time to spend that money, or you're just becoming somebody you don't want to be, or in that vein of stuff. What do you all think?
That's it. That's interesting. That's interesting. Um, I can, I so let me break it down in a sports kind of way. An athlete, let's just say an athlete getting his hustle on, a professional athlete,
Yeah,
because I've heard them say this. Um, there's athletes that when the season is over, they go to work on their craft, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's whatever, baseball. They go to work on off-season workouts, doing a lot, and they sacrificed a lot of time. Us, the common man, we think that the athlete, he goes to takes his family on vacation, like summer break. But their mentality is, especially if they've come from a background to where they didn't have anything,
yeah,
their thought process is, I've got to work harder than I did this past season because there's somebody coming that's trying to take my job.
yeah,
And so once again, it begs the question, to what cost? To what cost is the hustle worth it? And I've heard him speak on, I've lost relationships, and these are retired athletes.
yeah,
A couple of them have I've heard say this, that and they may be single. They may be single now,
yeah,
and or maybe divorced, and they can actually hold themselves accountable now that they have time to reflect. And they'll say that, like, I sacrificed relationships because I was worried about somebody taking what I had. And not only that, they're looking at who all are reaping the benefits of the success.
Yeah.
You know, if it's just me, then I can handle that. But I'm feeding my family. I'm feeding my mom, my dad, sisters, brothers, cousins, whatever. So they're like, if I slow down, there's a lot of people that's going to be impacted, and that's a hard way to go. But you know, I've heard that, and so that, you know, that's a good topic that you're speaking on. So that's my thought on it. It's all good, but to what cost?
Yeah.
I think that it's necessary in certain aspects or certain jobs or certain paths to have that hustle culture. And then like in the everyday life and then the everyday human being that has that 9 to 5 and has that type of thing is not as good.
Right.
Like when it comes to like hustle culture that I see that's positive would be in like medicine or in like political things or like market stuff like that. I see that as a hustle culture.
Hmm.
But as far as when it comes down to like your everyday man like you and me having that 9 to 5 and having to go home and take care of pets or children or that spouse or a loved one, like that hustle culture can become overwhelming and overstimulating, which causes the fray on your body or your mental health. So I say it just depends on what you're hustling for.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Um, it's a hard one for me because I've always been in the hustling culture.
You always been a hustler, huh?
Pretty much.
Hustle and flow, hustle and flow.
But I was just always I was always wanting to do whatever I needed to do to take care of things I need to get done.
Facts.
Let's just say, I mean, this is one thing I know you know with me is the whole gig work situation.
Yeah.
Oh, baby, that was a hustle. That was a
um,
hustle culture majorly.
yeah, that was it. And I mean, I say even nowadays, it's not something people should do full time.
Yeah.
Especially here. I mean, if you're out in like Las Vegas or somewhere like stuff like that, it's probably good. But even doing Amazon Flex, because like I used to love doing Amazon Flex.
Yeah.
But here lately, the station has been changing certain rules that they shouldn't be changing because they're not franchised or under
Gotcha.
the Amazon umbrella.
Right.
That makes it unenjoyable.
Yeah.
Um,
Experience.
Yeah, it's just, especially when you're waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go there and just do a route just to get some extra money. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
But I guess that kind of goes back to the root of what I'm asking, though, is that like, do y'all think that hustle culture is good for
It-
us, or is it becoming detrimental? Because I think of stuff like in Japan, the culture that they have surrounding work and everything. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take your job seriously or whatever, but there are, at least from, of course, American standards, it's like there are really, really high expectations for them. So it's like they've got to a point where, like, yeah, like birth rates dropped, like people stopped, interacting and dating, and like
Right.
things like it affects society
Yeah.
to the point.
I think there should be a good balance.
This right.
Yeah.
Like I was saying,
Yeah.
the sacrifice of giving up to be number one. What are you giving up to be number? Who to me, it's who is being impacted by that. Because think about this too. When you're trying to be, at the top of the mountain, as they say, what is it? What's that saying? It's lonely at the top.
Yeah.
Or what have you. When you're trying to be number one or be the best or be successful, not even necessarily number one, it becomes cutthroat.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, just look at this administration. Just look at politics in general over the last 20 years, 10, 16, 20 years. What the sacrifice of the lies and the deceit just to be looked upon as the best and doing the best. Sometimes you have to step on some toes, and sometimes you have to be You have to be hardcore, and people are going to get hurt by that emotionally, and then it impacts you because if that's not who you are, of course you can front for people, but when you're off by yourself, you feel that. You feel that. You know, and that's what brings about certain negatives such as drug addiction and alcoholism because you have to live with yourself. And so once again, that falls under the well-being part of it. So
Yeah.
like I said, it can be detrimental.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
It can be.
you know,
It can be
you
detrimental
have,
to be that.
you have like on one end, like is it a driving force,
Right.
you know, to kind of maybe show people like, yo, this is possible, or is it really just kind of encouraging people to run themselves into the ground? And we're not seeing it right now.
I think it's you gotta look at the hustle. Like, is it worth it?
Right.
Is it gonna make you run the same, like just keep running on the hamster wheel, or is it gonna end up being something to help you be successful?
Right. Some people sell their souls
Yeah.
to be that, you know,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day,
Yeah, and
I mean, just think about it. I mean, but Diddy, if he's found guilty, no, I'm saying because
Yeah.
you know, he may have been when he was starting out in A&R as an A&R person in Uptown Productions, and he had a vision of owning his own label,
Gotcha.
and then so he went from that, and then he ended up with his own line of clothes, and this, and he became a multimillionaire, you know. But once you become that, you know, to continue to be the greatest label, you know, you start doing things and saying things and forgetting about people's feelings and like, for instance, like you say, the grind. You know, do I need to be? We're going to be in this studio till you get it right. So we've been in the studio for 36 straight hours. Like, come on, man. You know, and you don't care because you know you're all about pushing out.
Yeah, it's like, where's the line?
Yeah. Right, and so it's you know it's a hard pill to swallow, you know. But there are success stories because the main goal for a lot of people is, you know, what do you do when you do become successful? You know, do you pay it forward? You have those that want to pay it forward. It's all about giving back.
Yeah.
Some people want to put themselves in a position to give back, and some people are like, screw it, let them get it like I got it. They need to grind like I grind. Where everybody don't have the same platform or the same opportunities or afforded the same opportunities. And so, you know, it once again, it's always about self-reflection and to what cost. Are you willing to sell your soul to be number one? Because my motto is plain and simple. Nobody will ever outwork me. You know, and that's just it. It's not about stepping on toes. It's not about even trying to be a supervisor. You know, it's just all about being the best at what I do. And if the opportunity comes for me to move up, you know, now I look at it differently. That was me then. You know, at one point, I never wanted to be a supervisor or be a leader of people. I just wanted to be the best at what I did and get recognized by promotion. You know, give me a raise for what I do. You know, and you know, if it so happens that a leadership position comes, then yeah, I'll sit down and I'll look at it and I'll say, well, is it worth it for this company I'm working for, whatever?
Yeah.
You know, I never had any aspirations of being, you know, so my hustle was always nobody will ever outwork me. So I didn't mind working overtime because I said nobody will ever outwork me. So
Yep.
I told myself, whatever it's going to take. You know, I didn't mind coming in, you know, on a weekend, working an extra day, covering for somebody. You know, but then at some point you have to say, okay, I had to say, they're not even recognizing me. They're
Yeah.
not even, you know, certain things happen and you say, but, you know, what I'm doing for you all is not unconditional.
Yeah.
So don't act like I haven't been that model employee for you all. You know, so, you know,
But
there's so many, like you say, cause and
Yeah.
effect.
I guess it's safe to say that there's a degree of nuance in that.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you really got to ask yourself: how does it impact yourself? Like, how does it impact you? Like, is it one of the things that you're going to be able to
Well, the question
be
is-
okay with looking at yourself in the
general.
mirror for it?
Yeah.
Or
Right.
would you be able to go happy going to sleep?
Right.
Or are you stressing yourself out trying to do that, you know, and put things on the back burner that shouldn't be on the back burner?
Right.
Yeah. I'm thinking like large S though. Like that's why it's more of like a generalized question. It's
Yeah.
like, do you all think that it's good for us collectively?
All collectively.
You know?
I don't think that it is good for us collectively because it'll just end up having everybody spiraling out at some point. Everybody will end up overworked, overwhelmed,
Yeah.
underslept, and just ready to rip each other's heads off if everybody's just going hard at all times.
Yeah.
It will end very badly.
I do agree with that. Real talk.
That's my final thought on it.
I think it's more personal preference. Well, not really preference, but like I said, like as far as like, does it make sense for you? You know,
Is going to determine whether or not you think it's good or bad.
yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But I mean, it's basically just what the world is, anyways. The whole world is one big hustle, one big hustle culture.
Right.
I mean, you look at the way things are done in America, where people have to make a living off tips.
Right.
In other parts in the world, people can get tips, but they're paid a livable wage.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. It's like we have to, like we're driven, but that's why I'm like we're driven by conditions at this
Right.
point. And it's like should we have to have 2-3 jobs?
yeah, no,
You know?
we shouldn't have to have them. It should be, because it's like me right now. It's like the way I was, or I was working a job when I started with this job. I was working a job and then go into
Give me a living allowance.
doing Amazon Plex every day
Man,
every day
that
at
would
3
be
o'clock.
that would be interesting.
Give me a
But-
living allowance.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
and at that time I got burned out on doing gig work and all that stuff. It just, yeah, it's hard for it. It's hard for it. Like,
What's your final thoughts on the cha-cha? Do you think it's something that is good for the world or bad for the world?
I think it's good for the world. I think it's good for the world. And the reason why I think it's good for the world is that the hustle breeds new leaders. It breeds effective followers. Everybody can't be a leader. If you're not an effective follower, that's going to breed chaos.
Right.
That's
Right.
where the chaos comes in.
I feel that.
Gotcha.
And so I think it's a good thing that if you have a hustle, if you have a hustle, it's good as long as you have integrity about it, integrity and morals. I think it can be a good thing. I think that it separates the haves and the have-nots. Everybody's not built for everything,
Right.
but some people will get in there and they'll give it a shot. You know, and they're like, well, you know what, this is not for me. Well, then I need you to move on. Don't come in here disrupting what I'm trying to do. If I'm trying to get my hustle on and I need your help, then
Yeah.
you're standing in my way. So I don't need you.
So
And I'm not speaking from a leadership position. I'm speaking from you affecting me from doing what I need to do.
Gotcha.
Because I don't mind coming in and staying over, but I want that to be my choice. I don't want to have to work over because you didn't show up again.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And so I think it can be the hustle can be a good thing because it separates the haves and the have-nots. And that's important to me.
Well, all right. Me personally, I feel like generally it is a double-edged sword.
Yes.
And as always, people, it's about balance.
Right.
What the give and take, what you're willing to sacrifice, what you're willing to put up with.
hmm
And that's part of the reason why I asked the question.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your thoughts on this matter. America, what do you think? Let us know in the comments. And that has been The Green Room. I appreciate you. Have a nice day. Green out.